I'm Keith Decent, and today we're going to build this desk out of some plywood scraps and steel. So why do I have to build a desk? My old desk it was tiny and inadequate, and it just never really worked for me. Basically, it's everything your ex has ever said about you behind your back to your mother. And for the main part of the build, I'm essentially making a butcher block out of all this leftover plywood scrap from a job that I had. It's Baltic birch, it's really nice stuff, so when you put it up on edge, it has this really nice stripe pattern going on. And the main part of the build is really repetitive. It is just glue and nail and saw and glue and nail and saw until I have what will be the desktop. I staggered the end there because I want kind of a waterfall effect. I want it to look like it's folding over the edge of the frame and then dripping towards the floor. My original concept was to power carve the drips into actual kind of liquid looking drips, but once I got it all together, I really liked the kind of digital drippy 8-bit look that it had. I think it complemented the overall structure really well. So for the frame itself, I'm using 3/4 inch square steel tube and angle steel, which I got from the big box store. Cut it, flush it, cut it, flush it, get it all the right size, welding it together, and voila, I'll have a base, and you'll see that happen. This is a chain vise, by the way. Great tool, really handy for cutting bar stock and metal. I think it's mostly made for pipes and stuff, but I found it attached to an old workbench, and I took it because I wanted it, and I'm happy I did. Okay, just do me a favor, put down the keyboard. I don't know why you picked up the keyboard to write a comment, but put down the keyboard, click away from the comment section. I know I'm a bad welder. Look at this. I have to strain to pull the bar into a right angle. I'm a bad welder. It's fine. My welds are uglier than a hot lady's dog. Okay. But despite all that, the frame's coming together really nicely. And some magic sparkles later. And you can see I burned a couple of holes, but I went on YouTube and I learned how to patch those holes, and it's a-okay. And it turns out you can fix ugly as long as you have an angle grinder and a grinding disc. Look at that. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. So my original thought as to the finish of the frame was to use this metal blackener called Jack's Black, but I've never gotten it to work properly. It turns this cruddy yellow no matter what I do every time, and I've cleaned the whole thing with acetone and degreaser, and it doesn't matter. So I said, screw that. I'm going to go back to the woodworking part because that's what I'm good at. And I started cutting up the now dry butcher block top so that I can work on the fold over portion and sand it all flush and all this kind of stuff. Here's an extended butt shot for I don't know what reason, but there it is. So this drum sander is great. I got it at an estate sale. It's old. However, we'll get into it later. I realized what I wanted out of the bottom of the frame was for it to be matte black. So like a genius, I went to the store and bought some matte black spray paint. These little handle things, by the way, they're a blessing and a curse. They save your wrists and they save your hands from becoming cruddy. But as you saw there, like, they also suck butt. Alright, so it was like 95 degrees in the shop that day with like 1,000% humidity. And it was nasty, and the breaker on the drum sander just kept tripping. So after a while of trying to diagnose the issue, I said, forget it. Grabbed my belt sander, went to work, grabbed my low angle block plane, which is fantastic for end grain plywood, and I grabbed the card scraper, which, you know, some of my old school skills kind of saved my butt because I got a real nice finish out of it. And for those of you following along at home, I've said "but" 3 times in the first 4 minutes and 15 seconds of this video. You don't usually want to see sparks when you're doing the woodworking part, but it's okay. I just hit one of my nails with a biscuit joiner. Now, biscuits are not for structure, and that's okay. I just need them to line up the glue line on the edge of this piece because the side there is going to be right up against the edge of the frame, and I'm going to screw it into the frame from underneath. One of the truly great things about plywood is that the end grain, due to the alternating layers of veneer direction inside, is actually only 50% end grain. So in most situations, you can glue and clamp any side of a piece of cut plywood to any other side of a piece of cut plywood, and you'll get a reasonably strong bond. Case in point, this entire project. I've recorded this part of the voiceover like 7 times, and I have nothing to say about making screw holes that's interesting. I'm friggin' putting holes in metal and putting screws through them. There. The finish coat for the top is just satin poly. I like the way it keeps the wood light. It doesn't yellow too much. I like the way it's cheap at the store when you buy it with your money. And I like the way it sprays. Now I'd like to talk to you for a second about self-promotion. Nobody likes it, but some of us internet people, some of us terrible, bad internet people who refuse to get a real job have to do it. So go to my Instagram. If you hate hearing me talk, I barely say words on there, or you can mute it because there's captions now. And if you like hearing me talk, for whatever reason, I have a podcast. It's called From the Ground Up. ftgupodcast.com. It is the story of how we make stuff, and I'm very proud of it. And we're done, because it was not a very difficult project, but it's a very elegant design. I'm happy with it. It has lots of legroom, and it looks great. The only thing I would change is that waterfall edge. I would probably do a staggered finger joint, but I was kind of making it up as I went along. Anyway, I love my new desk. I love all of you, and I'll see you soon. Later, makers.